Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today we're covering this wonderful topic of It's Not a Matter of If, but When, Part 2. And with me in the studio on this beautiful December day in 2022 is America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir. Recorded in 2022, airing in 2023.
Oh, that's wild. When should this be scheduled? You're pretty good about this.
Folks, you all should be listening to this around February 16th, so Valentine's Day is already come and gone. Yeah.
It's amazing how what is this radio show? How many of these have we done over the years?
This is episode 314.
Wow.
And that's just the number of radio shows we've done on our own. For those of you who've been listening for quite a while, Tony, for about a year or so, you were going to a big radio station down there in Bowling Green and doing a show every Thursday morning live.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that actually worked out really well. I think what we realized, though, the number of stations that we wanted to broadcast on, it just made more sense for us to do it in our studio. And when are we on? 7 or 8 different stations now for Kentucky?
I believe 7. Yeah.
And getting ready to add a large station in Louisville. So if you want a full list of all of our TV stations and radio stations that the Worry-Free Retirement Program is on, you can just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You can click on the download, the media section, all the different times. It's been a remarkable journey. And Aaron, you've been with me a long time. Just appreciate all your efforts and for continuing to help produce the show. So kudos to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Aaron, I know you're, in your early 40s now? 40-ish?
I'm 42.
42. You got 3 young kids at home. You're just trying to, make this thing, life work. And you're producing a show hosted by a retirement planning specialist. You've been to our client dinners. You've seen our clientele come in here. How many 42-year-olds do you see walk in this office building?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
So what is your take as you're exposed to just how much information, how many decisions, even as we go through this topic, it's not a matter of if, but when. What is your take on this at your age?
Here's what I tell people a lot when we talk about work, what I do, just the business in general. Here's what I tell people a lot. Retirement can get real scary real quick. There's just so much that you just are kind of expected to know. And if you aren't around it, you're probably not going to know it. Sir, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't work for you, I'd probably be somewhere else, probably working in the media field somewhere. And I would probably be like, I don't know, I'll just take a guesstimate, 80% of those other people out there that's just throwing a percentage in a 401k, and I'll look at it when I'm ready to retire. And then when I get to that point and I see whatever I've got, I'll say, okay, well, I'll take my check, Uncle Sam. Not knowing that Uncle Sam's like, okay, well, we'll take our check first. There's so much that I probably would not know had I not, taken a leap of faith and started working for you almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's well said. And so here's the thing, folks. You may be feeling like Aaron said he would probably be feeling as well. Maybe you're retiring soon. Either way, you just feel overwhelmed thinking about this notion of quitting work. Maybe you've already done this. Again, I had a lady came in today that's retired, and she's working with us and feels good about what we're doing. But Aaron, she admitted today, she said, this is overwhelming.
It is. It's crazy. Very overwhelming. Well, I've talked about this before. It's kind of like taxes. It's like, man, if you don't have all the rules and know everything, boy, you're going to get penalized, and it's going to be a big, big penalty. It's not, all right, we'll just try to do better next time. No, it's going to be, you got one shot at this.
So let's cover the wins, and we may add to these. This is part 2, the second show. If you want to go back and listen to part 1, that's at SoundCloud.com. Do they type it? What do they click on a bobblehead? What do they do when they go to SoundCloud?
So go to SoundCloud.com, and right there at the top, there's going to be like a search bar, and it'll say search or something like that in the top. Just click in there and type in the Worry-Free Retirement. Worry-Free is all one word, folks. The Worry-Free Retirement. Click search, and then bam, the first thing you're going to see is a little image of our awesome bobblehead. So you click on that, that's going to take you to our page, and you're going to find all of our past radio shows.
Okay, so here's the wins, not ifs. When to take Social Security, when to roll over your 401k plan to an advisor. We covered those last week. Today we're going to cover when to deal with your tax tumor, and finally we're going to deal with when to start taking less risk. So 2 huge components. Then, to finish it out, we're going to have when to start spending your money, when to seek a retirement planning specialist. This is going to take a while, Aaron. When to purchase an annuity. And finally, if we don't add to these, when to admit you're not going to live forever. So let's get started. Because
I think we got show topics covered for a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, a couple of weeks at least. So in the essence of time, I've got to jump into this because there's a lot to cover. So again, now we're at number 3. Number 3, not if but when, is when to deal with something I call the tax tumor. All right, this is a trademark term, and I'm going to set the stage. I've told this story for years, but it helps people understand what's going on. Aaron alluded to the fact, folks, that if you have a pre-tax 401k, pre-tax TSP, pre-tax 403b, pre-tax IRA, it doesn't matter. That means when you see pre-tax, that means it has not been taxed, okay? And that's a problem because when you go to get this money out, there's something that's going to rear its head. It's buried inside that tax-infested retirement account. I call it the tax tumor. Now, the story I used to tell relates to my wife, Susan, who for years, she was a nurse for years, but part of her nursing career included working in an oncology lab, okay? An oncology treatment lab where people would come in there. And have you ever seen one of these before? Have you ever accompanied somebody to go get chemotherapy at a treatment lab for any reason?
No, I haven't done it like personally. I've seen things on television, but not in person.
Okay, well, she would be there, and the people would come in, a lot of regulars. And, you know, she heard me once on TV watching the show going, Tony, you mentioned tax tumor. What? That's kind of like, I think she took offense to it a little bit. Okay. She's like, why are you using a serious issue like cancers and tumors to explain finances? And I said, well, Susan, it is serious. And I'm not trying to belittle or I'm not trying to make fun of anything. I know cancer is serious, but people don't understand how serious this is, that they have this partner in with them called the government. And the best way I can explain a tax tumor is this. And I said this to Susan. I said, Susan, let's say somebody's diagnosed with cancer. She had a melanoma once. You know, I use her as an example. And let's say you went to a doctor and the doctor said, uh-oh, Susan, you've got a melanoma. We need to remove it. Now, what would happen if Susan said, now I'll just put it off? Could she do that? Sure, she could do that.
She could.
Sure. So you might say, well, why would she put it off? Well, maybe the doctor said, well, to get this thing out, it's going to be very painful. It's going to be very costly. So maybe it's not if but when, but you kind of take the if because I'll just put it off. I don't want to deal with the pain or the cost. So will the tumor over time, more than likely, Aaron, if left unattended, will it shrink on its own or grow?
It will probably grow.
Good answer. So let's think about a 401k plan, all right? Keep that visual in mind. If the tumor is not treated, and hopefully if it's not removed, that's what you would want to say, get it out of there, you're going to have a huge tumor and it's going to overtake you at some point. So let's take a 401k plan. Let's say you're 55 years of age. You've got a couple $100,000 in there, and you see the statement, and it says $200,000. All right, Aaron, put yourself in the shoes of a 401k, and there you get it. All right, and all of a sudden you get that thing, and it says $200,000. Do you think you have $200,000?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay, now let's imagine you go to take that money out. You need it for whatever reason. You just liquidate it, and you say, I want my money. How much do you think you'll actually get? Do you think you'll get the full $200,000?
Well, going back to what I said, Yeah, had I not worked here, I'd probably be like, well, yeah, it's my money. That's my money, and I need it now. We've said that before on the show. Yeah, I'd probably think, all right, I get that $200,000. But I know that's not the case.
That's right. That is not the case because Uncle Sam is your partner. He gets first dibs. So depending on your tax bracket, now here's my concern, folks. Again, as we record this show in 2022, believe it or not, I know you won't believe this. Believe it or not, I've done this 38 years. We are currently at some of the lowest tax brackets in history. Now, that doesn't mean I'm telling you to yank your money out of a 401k and intentionally pay and deal with this tax tumor and pay the taxes. What I'm saying is, with the right planning, with somebody who has expertise in dealing with this darn tax tumor, like Tony Walker Financial, what I might suggest is this, Aaron. If you're going to need the money, what if we could come up with a strategy to deal with the tax tumor, but maybe not make it so painful? Would that make sense? Because it's not going away. And
so you got a bigger knife. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So it's not going away on its own. Let me say that the only way to obliterate the tax tumor is leave that money to charity at death. Most people are not going to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're a tax-free entity. So assuming you've accepted the fact that it's not a matter of if but when, you will have to deal with this tax tumor, why wouldn't you want to set up a strategy to try to mitigate or at least lower the pain or the cost associated with it? So here's what I'm going to suggest you do. There's a couple of things you can think about with this tax tumor. Now, we'll talk about Live Well, Die Broke on another show coming up, but one of the things you might want to do, folks, is purchase my latest book, Live Well, Die Broke. It's a wonderful book, and it'll help you deal with this whole idea of one of our other wins, and that's you all are not spending your money soon enough. So let's deal with the first thing. How can I deal with the tax tumor? One thing you can do is spend it. Okay? This is the type of thing I can get involved in if we meet. I can share with you why it might be more advantageous to spend more of this money rather than letting the tumor grow. That's number one. Number two, you could convert it. Had someone in today, they probably need to take this IRA. They don't need the money. They got a ton of money sitting in the bank earning 0% interest. Why not take that IRA, convert it to a Roth IRA? You can do that even if you're not working. You can do this. Pay the tax now. You're done with the tax tumor forever. Now all that money grows tax-free forever. Certainly a good option is to convert it. 3, you can defer it and hope that you're in a lower tax bracket one day. You could do that. Number 4, you could just leave the tumor alone, do nothing about it, and when you die, this is what I told Susan. Susan, the difference between my tumor and the tumor of your patients is when they die, it's what, Aaron?
It ceases to exist. It's done.
That's right. Unfortunately, folks, it does not cease to exist when you die when it comes to taxes. That tax tumor gets passed right on to your heirs, your spouse, your kids. Nobody can get away from it. So here's my point, folks. Why not deal with this tax tumor? If you have a 401k, 403b, TSP, lump sum pension, IRA, and nobody's helping you deal with these taxes, contact us at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. It's easy. Just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started, or give us a call at 270-843-9380. Okay, we got a great segment coming up. My very own favorite nephew, Wes Walker, and fellow fiduciary, is going to be on to talk about something really, really interesting. When to start taking less risk with your money. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Shannon, and I'm in charge of setting up all of Tony's appointments with clients and prospective clients. One of the things we take great pride in is making sure that phone calls are returned promptly and that the needs of our clients are met right away. When you call Tony Walker Financial, you'll always get a live agent, and in most cases, your questions can be answered by one of our trained retirement planning specialists immediately.
Are you retired or retiring soon? Do you have a 401k, IRA, thrift savings account, 403b, or lump sum pension that you'd like to move to safer territory? Did you know that all the money you see on your 401k statement isn't really yours? Depending on your overall taxable income, the government has essentially a lien on your 401k that can tax as much as 40% of your money when you go to take it out. Tony Walker calls this the 401k tax tumor. For over 33 years, retirement specialist Tony Walker has helped thousands of savers worry less about money by creating game plans to deal with your tax tumor. Get control of your retirement by controlling the taxes owed on it. Schedule a free meeting to see if you can reduce your tax tumor and provide a guaranteed income you can never outlive. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. In case you're just now joining us, our topic today is it's not a matter of if, but when. And in the studio with us on this chipper December 20th, 2022 is none other than my favorite nephew, fellow fiduciary, Mr. Wes Walker, and we are going to talk about the when, Wes, to start taking less risk. Hey, what do you think about those apples?
W-H-E-N, correct?
W-H-E-N. And by the way, the throat, what's up with the voice today? Where you been?
Scratchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was in Dallas over the weekend at a buddy's wedding, and you know how when the bride comes out, everybody just loses their mind. They love to see her. Everyone gets so excited. Well, the groom came out, and I wasn't seeing the same amount of applause, so I had to really bring up the energy in the room, and I think I lost it.
And did you tell the groom that you were going to be recording a radio show at your boss's place, or did you forget that one?
Well, I found out about this about 15 minutes ago, so I had no idea.
Oh, by the way, you do sound a little like Barry White. I'm kind of liking it.
Well, I'll take that.
My darling, I can't get enough of your love, babe.
All right, so Wes, you've been with me now a little over 3 years, doing a magnificent job with our Charles Schwab platform. And what I guess I want you to kind of clarify with a lot of people, because when people say money management, I guess we could classify ourselves as money managers because we do charge a fee. We tend to take a different approach. But first of all, let's talk about risk. So what I want to deal with is this idea of when to start taking less risk. Obviously, folks, this show is for retirees or people nearing retirement. We're not talking to 30-year-olds here. So what would you say in terms of a comparison of our philosophy of what risk is versus what might be risky with, let's say, a typical money manager on Wall Street?
Sure. There's a different connotation to risk out there in the money management world. You know, I've matriculated through the RICP program where a lot of the discussion is about how to avoid longevity risks. So maybe the solution in Wall Street's eyes is to increase your equity exposure, put more stocks in because over the long term, they've traditionally had higher rates of return. Whereas someone like us who works with savers and savers who don't particularly like risk, we might use something like an annuity to prevent against longevity risk. So it's really just a shift in mindset away from what traditional Wall Street sees and accepts as the status quo into something that's different, but works for a group of people who needs less risk and income over their retirement.
Now, that is well said. In fact, the old, what was the rule? I'm going blank here.
4% maybe? Or
no, not even the 4%, but the rule of 100. Didn't they bump that out to the rule of 120, or they've been talking about it?
Yeah, with bond yields being lower a few years ago, they mentioned that you may even want to increase. And for folks who don't know, the rule of 100 used to say you should take your age, subtract that from 100, and that gets you your equity exposure that you should have, or the amount you should have in stocks. So for instance, if you're 60 years old, you should be 40% in stocks, 60% in bonds. Well, they've increased that now. So it used to be 100, now it's the rule of 120. That means that your equity or stock exposure is going to go up. So it was 120, now you're 60 years old, it's 120 minus 60. Now you've got 60% in stocks instead of 40. They've increased that number, making things even more risky for a population that may not be wanting exposed to that level of risk.
And that's the thing. If you're just listening to this show for the first time and you're maybe used to listening to shows with money managers, folks, we are dealing with savers. These are people that don't like a lot of risk. So let's speak to that, Wes. With our saver clientele, and as we record this show again in December of 2022, interest rates are going up. And I'm sure you don't have this off the top of your head, but how many people would you say roughly, as a percentage, we've got over 2,000 accounts with Charles Schwab, are basically saying, yeah, with these high CD rates, put a bunch of my money in CDs. I'm trying to emphasize how much our clients don't like a lot of risk.
Sure.
Speak to that.
Yeah, and it's always an option. Some people would prefer to have no stock market exposure, and with higher interest rates, it is something you can do. It's not necessarily something that we would recommend, but for a person's individual situation, it may be something that we do. So it just depends on the client. But there are people that do not want to have any risk to the stock market in volatile times. Over the long haul, your rates of return may be higher if you were in stocks. We don't know. Usually it is. If past is prologue, then it would be. But some people really do not like that risk. As you've said for years, and for the 3 years I've been here, I've heard it a million times, but risk and reward are like traveling companions. If you want to get double-digit returns annualized every year, you can't do it in an annuity. You can't do it in a life insurance product. You have to be in the market. We don't want to work with people who need that in retirement. We want to work with people who need guaranteed income, want guarantees, and need someone along for the ride to orchestrate all this and make it happen.
Yeah, the flip side to that, you're exactly right. Risk and reward are traveling companions, and if you're trying to earn 10 and 12%, there will be times like 2022 when you could lose a lot of money trying to get those 10 and 12%. So speak to that, because I'm having you talk to more and more people, and when we are in these down markets, I know Wall Street can easily say, well, just hang in there. But speak to the audience out there and how some of these savers, they're not willing to expose that much money to risk. What are their thoughts when we see these down markets? So in some cases.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, you might think of someone who maybe just entered into retirement. That's what we call sequence of returns risk. So now they've lost their income stream from their job by their own hand. They've quit work and they retire, and they said, okay, we're going to retire now. Let's say they've gone to the typical money manager and they're going with the old 4% rule. They're going to take 4% out. Well, if they're doing that in a down market in the first few years, that's going to really dampen their asset base. And they had no guaranteed on the back end, maybe other than Social Security, that they can fall back on. With our process, they've got less in the market to begin with. They're taking systematic withdrawals, knowing that when they hit, we'll say 70 or 75, they've got, or somewhere in between there, they've got a guaranteed income source like an annuity that they could pull from alongside Social Security, pensions, other forms of guaranteed income. So it's more about the process than the products of picking the right stocks or finding the highest yielding bonds or whatever Wall Street's typical play is.
Well, and again, I just want to tell you what a great job you're doing and how much reassurance. A lot of the times we have to just tell clients, hey, stay with the process. Don't get carried away here. We're not trying to, I like how you put that. Our goal is not to try to earn you double-digit returns. We're trying to keep those huge losses at bay. We're trying to keep you a good, steady flow of income. In fact, sometimes people are kind of shocked when I say we're only going to project a 3% growth rate on your income plan. And they're like, you mean that's all I'm going to make? And we might say, no, it doesn't mean that's all you're going to make. Hopefully we make more than that. But I always like to say, if you can accomplish your goals and objectives without all this risk, why take all this risk? So if that's you right now, if you're sitting there going, yeah, Tony, I think I am in a stage, I'm at a stage now where is it time to take less risk? You're asking yourself that very question. Most people who are retired, thinking of retiring, or in their late 50s, early 60s, this is when folks you might want to assume that it's a good time to consider taking less risk. Well, what's the next step to get started with learning more about our process at Tony Walker Financial? That's easy. All you got to do, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you'd like, simply give us a call at 270-843-9380, or if you'd like to dial toll-free, 877-499-9255. Well, we'll be coming right back. Wes, that's all the time we have to talk about. I'm going to get to another if not if, then when. These are fun. You're laughing. You know me. I said, well, I think I've got 4 or 5 when to do something, when not. I'm up to 8 things now, so this might take 2 or 3 shows. Last week we had Trey on, so this thing's just going on and on. So hopefully, folks, you're realizing as retirement planning specialists, we see this stuff day in and day out, and we hope it's of help to you. You stay tuned. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Well, our employee spotlight today is none other than our own Jennifer Jaggers, and I want to welcome Jennifer to the program.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I know you and Heather made the trip from Bowling Green to our Louisville studios today. What's it like driving down here knowing this is what I do once a week, is driving the roads of I-65? How was the drive, by the way?
I admire you for that. As a road rage kind of girl, better you than me.
Well, we are excited to have you. And again, we just wanted you to share briefly. First of all, I like to call you JJ. That's your new nickname. But first of all, about your background in banking. You came to us recently, and we're so fortunate to have you. But tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Okay. I actually started off pretty much my career in banking. I've always been on the loan side of banking, so I was a loan processor for a long time. I enjoyed that. I thought now since being here, I really enjoy the research aspect of this job. I totally did not know anything about this financial world. So I have enjoyed thoroughly learning the other side of finances, I guess you could say.
And you've done such a wonderful job. Of course, we've had some changes at Tony Walker Financial. We're growing like crazy. But you were started out servicing our annuity business and client services, and you're still doing some of that. But talk about your role in terms of administering and getting all the new annuity business issued and how detailed that is and how much business we're doing now to help these savers.
After you bring the file back to me, I get all of the client's personal information. I put that into whichever insurance agency that we are using for that annuity that they have chosen. I submit that information. I make sure all of their suitability, which is their financial information, is correct and accurate so that those annuities will be submitted. And when we get that annuity finalized back in the office, I put together a neat little binder for you to deliver to them at their final appointment.
And I guess sometimes I probably need to have you more in meetings. You don't get to see this, but the way we organize everything and the way we present everything, what would you speak to that? I mean, just the involved, detailed process of getting the annuities, putting them in the binders. We have the last day planners. Can you speak to that a little bit and how good you feel that, hey, we've got the mission accomplished. Here's your annuity. Here's how we work at Tony Walker Financial.
Those binders are amazing to me. It takes everything that they have, everything that they've purchased. It puts that in a nice little graph for them. You have their actual paper copies of their annuities placed into that binder. So everything's very organized for that if they need that in the future while you're sitting there with them going over that.
And then they know, too, they've got you. Now we got Mandy in the office, but they've got you to follow back up with service questions regarding those annuities.
Right. And anything as far as change of addresses, change of beneficiaries, anything that you need to change on that current annuity contract, we can get that taken care of.
But JJ, we appreciate your work so much. We're so happy to have you at Tony Walker Financial and look forward to writing many more annuities and helping all these savers.
Thank you, Tony. Happy to be here.
You're welcome.
Welcome back, folks. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Ornder. Just want to hit you guys with a couple of things real quick. If you want to listen to past radio shows, go to SoundCloud.com, type in The Worry Free Retirement. Worry Free is all one word. You want to watch past television shows, go to YouTube.com and type in Tony Walker Financial. Okay, Tony, we've been talking about, the tax tumor and all that stuff, and I got to ask, so let's go back to the example of me getting the $200,000, and let's just say I get 120 of it or whatever. When I get that money, isn't that going to put me in a higher tax bracket?
Oh, that's a good point, Aaron. One more reason, folks, to work with a retirement planning specialist. And somebody might be saying, well, yeah, that's a crazy thought. Who in the world would yank out that kind of money? Folks, we work with savers, people that are retired, retiring soon. A lot of these savers, for instance, Aaron, don't want a lot of debt. So we have seen people draw out large sums of money that are fully taxable. And yes, before you make those kind of bold moves, we're not telling you not to do it, but you better make sure you understand the tax consequences of these large withdrawals. So here's my point. Again, if you've got a 401k plan, maybe you're looking to take less risk with it. You just want somebody local, a fiduciary, independent, that's going to be fair and be there for you for the long haul. Why don't you do this? Contact us at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. When you get to the website, click on the Let's Get Started. What we can do is arrange a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with me, that's right, the owner of the company, to see how we might be of help. And guess what? If I think we can be of help, I'll be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Again, absolutely free. We can lay out a game plan. We can help you get organized for retirement. And again, it's all absolutely free. Internet not your thing? Why don't you just give us a call toll free at 877-499-9255. Well, guess what? Next week, we're coming back again with it's not a matter of if, but when. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.